Welcome back to the Stop Stitching Podcast.
Yes, sir, we back, man.
Nathan, B-Rock is in the building. And Brandon, go ahead, bro.
We got.
Brandon said he wanted the introduction on this one, so he got it. Go ahead, man.
We got a lot of special guests, but we got some real cloth talk on the pod this morning, man, or whenever it is, afternoon. Big homie, somebody that's introduced me to like a whole different world that I didn't even think about at the time. Put me on real estate. Put me on financial management, diversifying your portfolio.
I started buying stocks. You didn't even know that.
That's a good.
You didn't even know that. I took his financial advice without ever meeting him.
That's right. Like that was based off what I was telling. I was telling Nate about what this guy was doing for me. He was like, "Nah, I gotta get on that wave." You know what I'm saying? It's only right. So we got George Waters in the building. Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome in.
I appreciate y'all.
As always, before we start, man, we got a tradition here. We're gonna take our drinks.
Well, hold on. I want to say first of all. The man's never had a White Claw. Didn't know what it was.
Okay.
So we going straight to the cacti.
Oh, dang.
So that's the drink of choice. Hey, every guest gets the option.
How you like it, man? It's good.
It's a cool vibe. It's very different. Like I said, I'm a whiskey sour drinker, so
that's a note to self. Yeah. I can only make the old fashions, so I got to get the mix just in case I got to be able to diversify my own portfolio.
Hey,
you know what I'm saying?
Right
over here, bro.
Already.
It's a good drawing though.
You learning quick. All right, you ready? Do our toast.
You got to give it. So I'm just gonna go 1, 2, 3.
Stop snitching.
We cheers.
Cheers it, and then we off and running.
All right, bet. Let's do it.
Everybody take it. All right, stop snitching on 3.
1, 2, 3. Stop snitching. Boom. Welcome in, bro. Thank you.
Yes, sir. So, with our podcast, man, like whenever we bring guests, for the most part, it's usually someone either of us know. And then in this case, I know you. So what we do is we ask the person who doesn't know that person, like, what is your first impressions of this guy? Because he's only seen you on Instagram, right? So Nate, let me ask.
We've met in person.
We've met in person a couple times, but I will say that that was definitely what? High school?
Right. Years ago. That's what I'm saying. It's just so long.
But I'm pretty sure you're a very different person from then, because I had no impression of you. I have more of an impression of you now than I did probably then, even if you were like 1 year older than us.
But, I feel that.
So obviously, now that you guys have reconnected, you've seen his stuff on the Instagram. Like, what was your first impressions of George?
I guess my first impression was that you were shooting content for a property that you had. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, we're into the real estate game. But then because whenever Brandon's doing this stuff and then we hang out, I'm always like, what were you doing? Where, what, da-da-da-da. So he's like, no, you should follow him, like, see what it is. So then I followed you whenever that was. And then I was like, oh, this is like a whole, like, curated. You probably, out of anyone that I personally know, you have the best curated content. Yeah. Like, your Instagram is on a fucking beam, bro. Yeah. Like, there is nothing on there that is ever tripping. The cover, Brandon teaches me how, every cover of every picture for everything, your stories are always, like, beautifully. I was like, the only thing that I'm thinking of is I know how much time I put into this, which is half as much time as he puts into this. And I look at that, I'm like, I don't think people understand how much effort goes into making something like that happen.
Yeah.
Over and over and over. So I was very impressed with that. But then I saw the rental cars, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm in a different space than that, but also in the rental game. Mm-hmm. That's super interesting. And of course, I don't know, you're in Miami, you're here, you're in Philly, you're there. I was like, okay, so there's just a lot of different, like, multiple revenue streams going on. And then I was like, okay, this is what every kid who comes out of high school and says, I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to do my own thing. And they throw all these very pretty, cliched keywords out there of diversifying my portfolio and my revenue and my costs. But does anybody really know what that means?
Right.
To really do it? I was like, oh, well, he's doubled down on all of it. So I was super excited to get to actually meet you, to see someone who's actually doing it, like, around our age.
Yeah, bro.
He's doing it in a real way. And I've seen it firsthand, so it's like, like, even, and we'll get to it, like, more in depth, but, like, even when you brought me on for the first project, in those 3 months, I probably learned more about real estate than, like, at any other point in my life, just by watching him do the work. But what a lot of people don't know is, like, you actually, like, grew up around that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So kind of talk to us about, watching your parents kind of do this thing and how that inspired you to, like, be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, so that's like my competitive advantage in this whole thing. You feel me? Is the fact that my parents they stumbled across real estate, looking at like an infomercial.
Snap! I didn't know that.
Yeah, like they stumbled,
Damn.
they stumbled across it, saw it was a way to make passive income, and then they dove into it from the landlord perspective, and literally did that. They bought houses, they rented them out, and growing up, we were in those houses, fixing them up, helping my parents out with turnovers and stuff like that. So real estate, the act of real estate, owning real estate, seeing how to make money from real estate has always been like second nature to me. You feel me? That's why when I'm in school and everything, I'm like, man, like this is all cool and everything, but like I already know what it is. Like I already know where my bag is. You feel me? Like I always knew that that's where it's gonna come to, and just like it's an advantage, bro, because we don't know unless you're exposed to it, right? Like just thinking about what we were doing together. Like as soon as you get into it, you don't have a choice but to know because you in it. You feel me? So like if you grow up in that type of environment, I ain't have no choice. You feel like it wasn't really a choice. I'm not gonna. That would be very ignorant of me to see my parents dive into this new lane, see them achieve success in this new lane, right? And I'm literally like they started buying property like probably I was very young, probably like 2, 3, something like that.
Wow.
So when I like 2, 3, 4 maybe, but I was when I first started buying, and they kept buying over the years. And I see, as a youngin', you kind of see like, oh snap, you getting these houses, and these houses are making money. Like, why would I not follow that direction? You know what I'm saying? It makes sense. Everybody needs a place to live. It made sense to me. I've seen the work that they've had to put into it, and just run with it.
So like because like if people don't, I wonder if you have like a number for this, but this is what I always think of, like if you don't have like all that knowledge prior, would you say there's like X amount of dollars, like if you have saved up $10,000, you could potentially put that into your first property? Like is there a starting number like of capital that you would say, okay, very basic beginner, you can buy a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment somewhere that you can afford and go from there? Or do you really need to, is it really compounding value over time? You got to really take your time with this.
So it actually depends, right? Like what do you want to do, right? Like for me, I always say the first buy should easily just be a multifamily with an FHA mortgage, right? To me, that's just the basis of where you start. If you're going to be any type of investor, anything like that in the real estate market, you start off with an FHA multifamily. It's the easiest way to get into a property. You put 3.5% down for the property, and you can get 1 to 4 units, meaning that instead of you buying a property to live in, right? Instead of you buying a property to live in, you buy a property that has a spot for you to live, and 1 to 3 other people can live there as well, meaning they're going to pay you rent now. So you might have to put, let's say 3.5%, right? Let's say of $100,000, that's $3,500. Let's say closing costs are going to be an additional $5,000. It's going to be about, when I bought my duplex, to closing I had to bring about $7,000. Right? So I would say I bought a decent property that I was able to execute that play. So if I had to say for someone just starting out exactly how I was, I would say that $7,000 to $10,000 mark is where you want to be at. However, when you uncover that a little bit more, you can get creative with financing though, right? Like I go into, not getting too much into the weeds, but when it comes to having credit,
Well, that was my follow-up question. Are you basing this off of very average credit, or do you have, I'm sure you have good credit. I'm saying for the average normal person, student loans, X, Y, and Z.
So that's all gonna play a factor into how much you're gonna get approved for the mortgage, right? Having student loans, but it's not a hindrance. You just have to know your ratios, right? You have to know how much your student loans are, how much those student loans are costing you every single month, and you have to factor that into what you're making. All right, what are you bringing home from your paycheck? They're going to tell you exactly what it is that you can afford. Anybody, if you have if you have working income and you aren't drowning in debt, you should be able to have space in there. And an FHA mortgage, I believe they start at a 660, if I'm not mistaken. A 660 is the minimum.
Yeah, I thought it was like mid sixes.
Yeah, around a 660 is like the minimum to get approved for an FHA. So,
and for anyone who doesn't know what that means, that's just like very average credit, right?
Yeah,
like 660 is, it's not spectacular, it's not really bad. You're just a normal person with normal debt, essentially.
Exactly. A 660, you can do things to your credit to make you have a 660, get a secure credit card, add trade lines, things like that. There's things you can do to get there. But yeah, that's a pretty average credit score.
Okay.
For sure.
Good. Gotcha. That's good.
So take us through, obviously we just talked about how you saw your parents do it, do this whole thing. Take us through your first personal experience with entrepreneurship and like what that was like for you.
Yeah, so the first actual experience was cleaning out properties for my parents, right? My parents had rental properties. Obviously, the clear method for me to jump in was to, get a crew together when they're doing their changeovers. Instead of, them just doing it, why don't you hire me and my crew to go ahead and do it? So
hustling off. That's the hustle, baby. You gotta know. That's all you know, right? Exactly. Yeah, you're 15, 16 years old. What else do I know? Yeah.
Why would I not do that, right? So that's the easiest way, and I continued that up until when we were first forming our company and everything like that, doing full like rehabs for those properties where we need to not only just cleaning them out of trash and everything, but ripping up the carpets, putting some laminate floors down, repainting the house and everything. Of course, hiring people to do this, but that was the first like, all right, like I'm doing this. I'm not doing this like with my parents. I'm doing this for them. This is a service that they're going to hire this service out, right? If I don't do it, they have to hire somebody to do it. So this is an opportunity. I need capital. I have the experience to know, how to get the people together and how to execute this play. Why would it not make sense for, instead of them hiring out, I'll put it together myself and you can hire me and let's get it
and go from there.
Yeah.
Damn.
So do you like trying to think, do you just consider yourself an entrepreneur? Like when you say your business, what are the avenues of your income? Is it if you can break it down for someone, like how do you describe what you do? What do you own? What do you invest in?
Oh man, so I do a little bit.
It's good to take a deep breath on that.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. Honestly, man, I do a little bit of everything. A little bit of everything. That's why, as far as my title that I consider myself, I'm a financial strategist. You feel me? I'm a financial strategist.
That's hard.
Right? I say that because what I do is I create strategies, plans to make money, right? That generate wealth. That's why like my thing, my community online, they're called the wealth builders, right? That's what I call my people. That's what I call myself, is because my business is literally executing on things where I can build wealth from, right? So just to name a few, right? And that's not really like, we could talk about stocks, but that's not really my business, right? I invest in stocks, I invest in cryptocurrencies, I own real estate, right? I manage properties, I have rental cars, right? I go into avenues of businesses that simply create wealth, right? Everything kind of ties back to real estate when it comes down to what the goal is. But for example, over the past year and a half now, I've transitioned into the rental car space because the car sharing economy has boomed during this pandemic and just a new wave of technology. So to me, it makes sense to go into that industry, right? Get into that industry, utilize the things that I know, get that up and running. That's another income stream for me. Then, of course, we have the properties that we own and just rent them out. That's, again, another income stream, right? This is money that is, I'm not necessarily creating a service, anything like that. This is money that is generated passively. That's a big thing of mine, is getting into things that I can make money in my sleep. That's really like, again, coming to the financial strategist, coming up with strategies to make money in your sleep is what I do, what I specialize in. So really, man, I dive into a little bit, and I still have a job as well, right? Like I work my 9 to 5 too. That's another income.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Oh wow, I work
a very.
I would never know that.
Yeah. I don't even talk about it because there's so much other stuff going on. But yeah, like I work a pretty high level corporate job. Like, I get a little bag on the corporate side as well.
Is that in the financial services industry?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm a licensed financial advisor, licensed stock broker as well.
Okay.
So I
so you can really give financial advice.
Yeah, like legally I can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not just your opinion.
Exactly.
You really understand. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just always curious because everybody can say like, this is what I do, but if you're really in there. That's what Brandon showed me.
George has me making money like every single day.
Yeah. No, and that's what I wanted to talk to him about, because you showed me that app, whatever.
Vanguard app.
The Vanguard, right? TD Ameritrade, whatever it is, with your right, all that real sexy stuff.
Yeah.
But that's what people really make money on, right? Like that's the long term 20, 30, 40, 50 years, just compounding on compounding.
Wealth building, bro. It all comes back to just building wealth. There's a very few select avenues that you can do to build wealth, right? You can build wealth through paper assets like stocks, like bonds, right? That's a way to actually build wealth. Through real estate, that's another. It's a tangible asset, but it's a wealth building tool. The other one is business, right? Business in general, owning a business. These are the asset classes that historically have created wealth in humanity. You know what I'm saying? So to me, like, that was why I studied finance in college. I'm like, bro, like I want to get bread. Like, you feel me? Like that's what I want to do. Is I want to get money. I want to know how people make money. I want to know how money works. So like, I'm not like passionate about art or something like that. Like, show me how to make money.
Right.
You feel me? So with those principles in mind, that's what my business is focused on. You know, long story short, I utilize those principles to find opportunities to create income. And now I've gotten to the position of where I'm at, where I can actually provide the insight that I have to others, right? So my other business is I'm a consultant, right? So I actually speak with people, consult with them about how to implement these type of plays in their life to set them up for, you know, financial success, similar to same thing I'm talking about, you know, getting that FHA property, what to actually look for that, how to get your credit right, how to build business credit, how to start a rental car business, right? Like, helping people out with these same fundamental things that I've gone through, taken all the scratches for, made all the mistakes already. Now I'm able to be in a position to actually provide that value back to people as well. So
that's what
tie all that, man. It's a lot.
No. I mean, God. Whew. All right. So if you got your life as a pie, out of 100%, where's the 9 to 5? Where's the car? Where's the real estate? Like, do you have something like that in your mind? Because I'm sure to you, it feels 24/7.
Yeah.
And I don't mean the pie as in where do you make most of your money, but where does most of your time go into? Where does that break down?
That's a great question. As far as the time allocation, I haven't really necessarily looked at it, because honestly, where I'm at, like, I don't even look at the time allocation because I'm just always doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not, my time isn't allocated. It's to whatever is important at that moment is what I'm going to do. Like, it's not, to me, these businesses, these income streams, they're not jobs, they're not businesses. To me, it's a lifestyle. You feel me? So all my time is allocated to all of that, right? If I have a second, I'm going to pull out my phone, I'm going to look at Asana, I'm going to see something on my to-do list, and I'm just going to start doing it. You feel me? So like, I don't even split the time. I mean, I would say the 9 to 5 is structured, right? The 9 to 5 is structured. So during the times that I'm at work, of course, I can't put as much time into my business during that because I'm at work. So if I had to say what the biggest chunk of, it would have to be the 9 to 5, because that's just, you know, straight hours of working. That's 7.5 hours a day. But other than that, everything else is just straight lifestyle. You know, you just gotta, I don't really split it up because it's all one thing. It's all me, you know?
And it's always going to vary every day, depending on whatever's the most important.
Yeah, especially as it's continuing to grow. You know what I'm saying? One's going to take more credence to the other, just depending on what's going on.
Exactly.
You know, but speaking of Vanguard, because like, I think this is where we kind of connect in our journey, because when we reconnected, like I said, we all went to high school together, whatever, right? But this was like 2018, I want to say. Yeah, I think so. It was like summer of 2018, because I had just got done playing at Rutgers, and I was like, now I was still playing, but I was like also starting to focus on the cam way more, like putting myself out there and stuff like that. Then I get a DM from you, I think, or was it Kels?
I don't know. I think it was probably me.
Yeah, I think it was you. You're like, yo, like, let's meet up.
Wait, is Demby?
Yeah, Mikhail.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm just trying to make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And sorry, I will bleep his name out if you don't want his name in here. But
No, you're good.
I was like, I don't know how else to confirm that it's him.
But I think it was like, yo, like, want to talk about something with you with this real estate, meet me at Starbucks. So we meet at Starbucks.
That's where the money moves go, baby. Yes, sir.
And then
Starbucks.
he was basically breaking down, like, the play. Like, at the time, I think y'all might have just formed Prime Properties and Investments. You were telling me about that. So I kind of talked to the people about, like, forming, you know, an LLC and like that, and like, you know, what that company was all about.
Yeah, so Prime Properties and Investments, when I formed that, honestly, I just had a vision of how to get started in real estate, right? Like I'm just like, yo, there has to be some way to get started in real estate. I might as well incorporate it, right? I got some friends around me. I'm talking this talk about, yo, we can do this, we can do that. They're like, all right, bet. So I'm like, all right, let's just go ahead and form it. You know, everybody, you know, throw some money in. And from there, same thing I said, stick to the same script that I've been talking about. Let's, you know, we got the parents here. They got properties. We can do the clean outs ourselves. We can get the money. And then once we get enough money and enough capital, we can go ahead and run this play called the Bur Method, right? And we can get a freaking property. And like now we're going to be like real estate investors. That's the whole thing, right? Get some capital, buy a property, and now you create income forever, right? We transition cash into forever income. Like that's the main thing. That's the whole goal, and that's still the goal of, you know, everything is moving money into cash flow forever. So that was really the formation, was just how can we get capital to figure out how to run this play and to get rental properties. That was it.
And then, you know,
what's the
the Bur Method? Oh yeah, explain
what's
the Bur method real quick.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. All right. So the Bur Method, it's B and followed by 4 R's, right? So it stands for you buy a property, right? You rehab it, meaning you fix it up. You buy a messed up property, you fix it up, you rehab it, you rent it out, right? So you fix it up, you put a tenant into the property, and then you refinance it on the back end. Meaning, let's say you buy a property. I'll give you real examples of the property in Williamstown, that first property that we did, right? So we bought this property for I think about $35,000 cash, right? It wasn't cash though. Like I said, creative financing, using credit, right? Knowing how to liquidate cash off of credit cards, knowing, you know, how to borrow money from people, pull together private investors. Bought it for $35,000 cash, put an additional about $20,000 into it to fix the property up, right? So we're all in about $55,000. On the back end, we put a tenant in there that pays $13.95 a month in rent, and that property is now worth about $90,000 due to the repairs that we did. So the banks will lend up to 75%, right? So we basically get all of our money back, right? If I don't know the calculations, but 90 times, take 75% of 90, it covers everything that we, you know, went in. So on the back end, when we refinanced that house, we put $55,000 in. At closing, we got $65,000 back. Now we have a mortgage on the property and it's cash flowing every single month, but we have that lump sum of money back. And now the 4th R is to repeat. Just keep doing the process, and you build a real estate portfolio.
Okay, okay, wait, hold on. I was with you until the refinance. So I got you. Right. You get together the money. However you get together the money. You rehab it so that you can put someone in there livable.
Exactly.
They're paying you, which is passive anyway, right? But then because of the money you put into the property, now it's worth way more than that on a market value.
Right.
So the bank, based on the new market value, will give you a loan up to 75. Right. Oh. So you mortgage it for the new value.
For the new value, exactly.
Which is more than what you paid. So you take that loan and give that back to your initial investors. So that's paid off. You're no longer in debt to anybody.
And then now you have a stabilized 30-year mortgage on the property, right? Let's say
based off it's the new market value though.
Whatever you take out, that's 75%. Whatever the number is that you take out, right? Like for that property specifically, I took out about $65,000. So I now have a mortgage on that house for $65,000. The payment on that. Oh man, the payment on that is, I think, altogether about $800 a month.
I was gonna say there's no way it's more than $8.
It's about
$7.
It's about $800.
Yeah.
But remember, right now I have that $800 payment set for the next 30 years. However, the rent is $13.9. Right now it's actually $13.92. That difference, that's cash flow.
yours
forever.
Right? It's yours.
It's my
and
cash
then the
flow.
difference from what the bank gave you, you paid off your initial investors.
Paid off the initial investors and got an additional, $10K to go into the next project with.
The Bur Method, man, never fails.
You know what? You know what's so interesting is like that's something that I've definitely like seen. I've never heard the Bur like how that's a that's way better way than whatever the way that I've heard of it are. But oh wow, that's super.
But it's even crazier, and like when we get back, we'll talk about like the vlog series and stuff.
Yeah.
But it was crazy to actually experience it happen in real time, because it's like, oh, like this shit actually works. Like,
but real quick though, would you I'm not going to go into like finding the property because I'm sure that's just vetting and making sure that this is like
a whole process.
But by the time you buy the house to ending that method where you have time to repeat, would you give that an average of a length of amount of time? I know that getting a tenant can vary, but would you say most people could do it under 6 months if they're really doing this, like trying?
Yeah, I mean ours was the first house, so we did it in what, like 30 days? Was it like 45 days or something like that?
30 days?
It was really quick. We got it rented out like really quick. We went in. It's on YouTube.
Yeah, it's all on YouTube.
No, I've watched that. Yeah. Maybe I didn't realize it was in 30 days.
Yeah. One of I think the last title was like how we cash flowed in X amount of days. It was like 45 or...
I think it was 45.
45, something like that.
Yeah.
Because I watched it whenever it
was a while ago. But so it's going to vary to how much you need to put into the property, right? Are you buying a property that just needs some lipstick, or are you buying a property that there's structural issues and it might take 6 to 8 months to fix this property up, right? It's always just going to vary on the condition of the property. But granted, it's going to take a little bit of time. Refinancing, depending on what bank you use. There might be seasoning where you need to own the property for at least 6 months before you can even refinance and things like that. It's just all about doing the research before you go into it. The real estate play is a lot of planning, like a lot of planning. You have to run everything before you actually get into it. You have to run everything, run the scenarios, run the bad scenarios, the good scenarios, like run through everything that could possibly happen, and then dive in. You feel me? That's it.
Stop snitching. Okay, so, but real quick, because I don't know what Brandon had planned, but I'm more interested in this, so I want to supersede him for 1 second. All right, cryptocurrency, right? This is a very hot, pop-in thing. For me, as a normal person who also works a 9 to 5 and is trying to make passive income off of something, like I would say I put a fair amount of energy and money into crypto in general, primarily Bitcoin. I did make a bag off Doge, not gonna lie, which is fine. But hey, man, bro, I got in at like 5 cents. So when that shit peaked, I was like, cool.
Can't be mad.
Never gonna do that with anything else. The crypto space is so scary to me that like unless you're in those big Ethereum, Bitcoin things that have like already proven, it's hard to say when Bitcoin dropped 55% in the past 2 weeks. But if you got in low enough, if you got in low enough, you're gonna go from there. So do you have a significant amount of your portfolio into crypto, or is that just something as like a part-time gig that you get into?
Honestly, the crypto space for me, it's extremely interesting. I do believe the crypto space is definitely where we're headed, as we're seeing right now with these drastic sell-offs. We're seeing governments trying to block, the advancement of crypto, things that are happening in China right now. However, for me, I don't really dive super deep into the crypto space. I have friends who are deep into the crypto space, so I always pick their brains. But I'm not a person to miss out on an asset class, right? Like I'm all about diversifying my assets. So what I do, very simply, is something called dollar cost averaging, right? So what I do is, instead of me trying to time out when to buy my crypto, when's a good time to buy, when's a good time to sell, I'm more of a long-term investor, and I talk to B about this all the time. Like my investments are always long-term plays. I'm 27. You feel me? Like I got time.
Hell yeah.
Like I'm getting money. You feel me? Like we gonna build it. So with crypto, what I do is dollar cost averaging is basically just buying a set amount on a set schedule. Right? Like I have recurring buys that just happen in my account that just buy crypto.
Yeah, I do that too.
Yeah,
let's go. Okay,
cool. Just buy crypto, right? And I have probably about 3 or 4 cryptos that I like actually put money in, but the big ones, Bitcoin, Ethereum, just because it's such an opportunity. And to me, I'm like, we're still in the beginning stage. We haven't reached massive usage of crypto and things like that. So I feel like once these ideas come into human play, you can't block it. You can only like put off the inevitable with this. So I'm like, listen, I've been in the investment space. Like I live in the investment space. I'm not going to miss out on an asset class that's literally developing in front of my eyes, right? Like I already missed out watching it go from freaking 0 to 10. I watched it go from 0 to 10K. I was in Bitcoin back at 10K.
Bro, I was gonna say I was watching Bitcoin on Robinhood, whatever it is, at like $3,000. Yeah, and I remember looking at that like, no way. Now I'm like, what? Yeah, that was my retirement fund, bro. Holy shit, this is crazy.
Bro. Yeah. So,
but it's impossible to know back then. Like back then, you're so early on.
It's all speculation. It's all speculation.
Which is what I want to. Yes, thank you for that. But I wanted to get your opinion on this because I look at crypto outside of like what you said, the whales of the Bitcoin, Ethereum. Those are probably the only two that I would say are like. And most people would say put money into it, right? That's a safe enough. It's still very risky, but it's safe enough where you could ride that out forever. Anything else in crypto, I look at, you might as well be on DraftKings, bro. Like it's gambling, right? Yeah. I don't look at that as real, true investing, like on the stock market. These are things that are obviously regulated versus completely unregulated, where one person can own, sell, crash the market. And like if the three of us owned 90% of Dogecoin, we could literally run that space and make a play to then own 90% of Ethereum. Like I think that's what people don't understand is those few people who are in so early can literally manipulate the market to a certain extent, which is why I get that Robinhood puts holds on where they're like, hold on, this is getting like completely out of control. We gotta wait so that it's not Robinhood, so that it's all over the place. I'm just saying that from that perspective, I'm like, okay, I guess maybe because they're looking at it as like these are just a bunch of gamblers. These are just people going crazy.
Listen, man, let the people trade. Yeah, let the people trade, man. It is what it is. That's the thing about decentralized finance, and that's the risk, right? Is it's decentralized. Like you can't control this, John. Like I don't care what Robert is talking about. This don't make no sense. Like you gotta let that thing ride. You feel me? Like that's. My belief with this whole crypto space is it's getting rid of the middleman, right? Like you're getting rid of the middleman altogether. And I think what Robinhood did with pauses and things going down, and of course some of it's just technical difficulties, but I'm very let the people trade, let the free markets do what the free markets do, and let what happens. People are risking their money. You have to know what risk you're taking when you go into these things. What happens is what happens.
That's what I was going to say. Anytime you do anything, you got to know your own risk going into it. So it's like Bitcoin is very early on, but you're kind of like, you would be kind of stupid not to at least invest some type of money into it. You know, whatever that amount is for you. Like for me, it's like I put $30 a week into Bitcoin. It's not something that's going to kill my bank account, but
your
it's also
$30 this week is worth 10x compared to last week.
And that's on the safe side. Like some people are like really out there and they'll just go crazy, and that's for them. But it's like if you want to play it safe but still take advantage of the opportunity, put a number in that you're not going to think about. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But you're still putting yourself into the space. You know, because you don't want to be like you just talked about. We saw Bitcoin go from 0 to 10,000. So don't miss out on the new wave or anything else. Like put a little bit in, you know, something comfortable. Watch it grow, watch it not grow, and that's how you learn the game too. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Exactly. Like you and Rob taught me, even especially with stocks. It's like when a stock is dipping, that's when you buy it the most because you know the ebbs and flows of the market is going to go back up. Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
I would say depending on the stock.
Yeah, right. But in general, depending on the stock. But I'm just talking generalized.
In general. No, buying the dip on Bitcoin. I get why people do that. Hey, if you got $1 million, and like you were saying, your $1 million now is worth way more than it was before. If that's discretional and you have that, then that's where you want to invest it. I always equate it to like, my God, man, I got friends who do this sports betting stuff and all this thing. I'm not a gambler. I get that that's a very popular thing. But if you're willing to throw $100 down tonight on whether or not LeBron James hits the first shot to make $50,000, like, you could put $25 into Bitcoin.
Absolutely.
That's a safer investment than
really
that
what
shit.
I'm saying.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
So that's always my rebuttal. I'm like, if you have so much discretionary income where you would, let's say, I genuinely know people who could probably bet $500 to $1,000 a week on sports betting, right? But this is their thing, right? They don't. This is what they do. This is outside their 9 to 5, their side hustle. They invest and they research and da 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 da. I'm like, bro, you could
Well, I think
get into a mutual fund, and in the next 50 years, you could.
That's what he got me into, like, you know,
ETFs, baby, ETFs.
And that's what I was going to ask you, like, because I think some of it stems from ignorance, so the people just don't know, like, where to start. Yeah. So it's
but
like
it's
kind of like
money too. It's fast money. This is like, you know, sports gambling isn't rocket science.
Yeah. But we're talking about, like, if we're going to be on this podcast, it's got to be about long-term wealth. Like, I'm not going to tell none of y'all to just go and gamble. Like, we're going to talk about. Yeah,
no, I'm not saying that. I'm
not saying. That's why we got him on here, because he's somebody who can tell you and teach people how to build long-term wealth in areas that you didn't know existed. Like me, George was like, "Yo, start up our portfolio on Vanguard, and I'll show you what stocks to invest into."
Hold on. So let's just verify, just because, again, I am a licensed financial advisor. So I did not give Brandon financial advice. What I let Brandon know is to diversify his portfolio. Yeah. And, just diversify your portfolio, and you should diversify your holdings.
Yeah. Whatever say for George, we're going with that. But nah, I sought out advice on this. I was like, I saw what George was doing. I'm like, how can I get started?
However, this is not financial.
This is not financial.
I don't know the particulars.
Let me pivot a little bit here, just so we got George and Goodwaters. George and Goodwaters. If you're gonna give, maybe not even a recommendation, but because you're saying you don't really fuck with Robinhood like that, would because I also use like Voyager, Coinbase. Like, do you have a recommendation on where at least you use it from, just from your perspective on how to trade?
So, I'm regulated. I can only hold equity holdings at where I work at, because if not, it's a conflict of interest. So I can only hold, at my company.
Gotcha.
When it comes to the cryptos, I use an app called Gemini. Gemini, and then I just got put onto something called BlockFi as well.
We watch the same videos or talk to the same people.
Yeah,
yes.
I don't. Yeah, that's really all it is. I like TD Ameritrade has a good platform for like equities. That's really TD Ameritrade. I guess Schwab is pretty good as well. Those are the two, I guess, for equities. And then, of course, Vanguard is a good one as well. The mainstream. Like, I say go to right now, after Robinhood did the great thing with eliminating, like, brokerage fees, you can go to the big boys now and you can trade for free just about anywhere. So you might as well go to the reputable brokerage chains that they've been doing this forever. There was just that stupid fee that was there. Now that's gone. You might as well go right to the big boys.
I love it.
Yeah, that's it. But I mean, so
I don't know what to ask at this point.
No, I know. Brandon's like,
no.
I was literally just asking how does somebody get started.
I get what he's saying. It's just that like you can't. It's certain limitations of things you can say. That's
when
all.
it comes.
You're good, bro. You're good. I was just joking. I'm not trying to say anything. You're good, bro. Do your thing.
So look, all it is I do it with all my content too, right? Being licensed, I do not like give solicited financial advice outside of my gig. You know what I'm saying? That's really all it is. But with our conversation, again, it was just like, you were like, yo, bro, how do I get started in doing this, right? Yeah. So I'm like, yo, look, you want to put an X amount of money in, every single week. It doesn't have to be anything painstaking. Don't put anything that you're going to need to take out later. Put it in there and then look into these things called ETFs, right? Like, I'm not one. I don't tell anybody to start out buying individual stocks, especially if you're not spending hours researching these companies. I'm like, listen, bro, look into some ETFs, right? ETFs, an exchange traded fund, similar to a mutual fund. You can get a basket of stocks in one particular holding, and it might range from $75 to $200 a share, right? And you can get access to the most common one that I told you about, VOO, the Vanguard 500 Index, right? It's the S&P 500 Index, which is the largest 500 companies in the U.S., right? The Apples, the Googles, the Facebooks, the Amazons, the Teslas, everything.
The blue chip.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. 500 biggest biggest companies are in the 500 index. You can buy, instead of buying like, one share of each of those 500 companies, you can just buy into the 500 index. You know what I'm saying? And now you have diversification, which is huge when you're building a smart equity portfolio, especially if you're not studying these companies. 500 biggest companies, over time they've got a track record for growing. So this is how you can build a basis of exactly what I told you. I'm like, listen, get your basis together first. Get a strong, diversified, bottom, right? You can go into things like the 500 index. There's so many different ETFs, honestly, just about different groups. There's another one like ARK. I don't know if you guys ever heard of that. Like it's just like tech stocks. Like you can just go focus on tech. But I always say when you're starting out, go the ETF route, because if you go into one stock, you're now not only exposed to the market, but you're exposed to what is happening with that individual company. For example, if you go into Apple, you put all your money into Apple, the stock market can be doing great, but next week Tim Cook can get into a freaking scandal, right? Tim Cook can get into a scandal, cause Apple stock to crumble. If you went into that diversified, you bought into Apple and 500 other companies, right. Yes, Apple was having a bad day, their CEO's in a scandal. However, everything else is holding up your holdings, so you don't feel it as much, right? It's that diversification allows you to not have as much of a downside when it comes to actually building your portfolio and getting, especially when you're just starting out, you got to get a little gut for this, because you got those ups and those downs. The ETF can allow you to kind of it can allow you to kind of to weather that storm a little bit. It's important. Diversification is key, man. Super key.
And I know that helped me directly, because it's like I'll like go on the app every day and just look. And like, sometimes it'll be like everything's in the green and you're like, oh, bet I'm lit. And then sometimes it'll be in the red. I'm like, dang, but those ETFs keep you stable. You know what I'm saying? And then what I personally did was I just started investing in anything that I have. So like Puma, AT&T, Apple, like just stuff like that. And then, along the journey, people like who were actually in this space put me on, like, my homie put me on the Allocation. Something like that.
Okay.
And I actually made like a little bit of money from it before like it dipped like crazy. But just like, I mean, it's like what you said, like when I started out in that, I started wanting to learn more about this stuff. I started doing my own research. Like we have these apps on our phones that tell us all about the stock market. Then you start doing your research about what's coming up.
Yep.
So it kind of makes you get into the field, because it is still my money that's in there. Like I'm not just like reckless with bread. Like I'm gonna watch it, but I also want to know, like, because even when we talked, it was like, I just want this to be like a glorified savings account, something that I could just have in the tuck, rainy day. Like I'm not looking to cash out on this like right away. Like this is something I want long term. In terms of like just my journey to wealth building, as you said.
Right.
This is something important to have. So, if anybody's out there that's interested, it is fairly easy to get into. It's just about getting into the right things. Yeah. I think that's important to say.
I wanted your opinion on this, because I talked to, whatever. You're in the financial space. I'd also know like some people with wealth that is just like incredibly unimaginable at certain points.
Yeah.
And their opinion on a 401k. What's your opinion on a 401k?
401ks are cool. To me, they make a lot of sense when you have a match. That's a very big differentiator for me. And it also depends on what. Again, everything is customizable to the person. If you're a person who you want to just work your job and you want to, just invest your money in something, you don't want to worry about it, right? These 401ks have certain funds that you can just go into and you can invest all your money into it. Me, I'm the type of person where I'm not going to leave free money on the table, right? So let me tell you about my particular 401k. My company matches up to 4%. I can put in more than 4% if I want to, but
by the way, that's decent.
It's great, yeah.
Yes.
Like I said, man,
bro.
I'm blessed. But I put in 4%. The rest of my money, I don't put it in because I'm not getting, that match, that automatic match. And I know that outside of it, I have a lot of other things going on that I can put my money into. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to do that. But I don't think there's anything wrong with 401ks. They're great vehicles. They have built wealth in this country for endless amounts of time. So I rock with them.
Yeah, well, I don't think I've ever said it on the podcast before. So I had a previous employer, which is still pretty close to my heart. And they matched up to 5% on the 401k, which I can tell you that off camera because I don't know if that's something I can't say because I was but when I was that young, I was like, all right, five is what, and I was so, I mean, naive, maybe I was just young. I was like, I don't know, bro. Like, sure, whatever. Like, I want my money right now, so I'll put in 2-3%. Like, I didn't even discuss with my parents. It was just a thing that I was just checking off, like when you start your employment, which, looking back on it, is kind of fucked up, right? Like, I wish there was someone there to tell me, like, hey, man, I would recommend, maybe that's illegal, but I wish that could have been something in that point where it's like, yo, this is like money left on the table if you don't do this. So whether you say 4%, 5%, I really want young people, if they're watching this, like, bro, go look at your 401k and really know what your employer is putting in there. Because like you said, you got your parents who are good with money. I know I've talked to my parents a lot. My mom's a independent contractor, does her own thing. Brandon's had great conversation with her. That's a different kind of wealth building where you really have to know every dollar what you want to do. My dad, more federal and amazing 401k benefits. When you're working for the federal government, that's another level. And getting to talk to him about stuff like that where it does hit different, bro. Like, you talk to someone like that where he's been a 25, 30-year man, yes, he's getting
pensions. It's a different, like,
which our generation, that's not even a thing. We'll never get that.
Right. Listen, I in my job, I manage folks who are very much older than me, so I deal with pensions, all the time. Those things are sweet, man. Like, they just get a automatic payment every single month. Companies actually wised up. That's why 401ks exist now, because you have to put that work in instead of it just being given to you at a certain age. Now you have to actually save, and you save it yourself. They'll help you, but pensions are. I know if he had that, he's good.
It's unreal.
Mr. Matt is good.
Yeah,
let me tell you.
And we may run over now. This is too good. I got more questions. Okay,
let's get it.
Yeah, this is fucking great. I love this. This is. I love everyone who's been on this podcast. This is probably the most valuable. I think if anyone's going to listen to something, this is super valuable, bro. But
good stuff.
We got, whatever. I work in rental, so you being in the car space is fucking fast. I don't know anybody else in my life who does this, but also you own it. Okay, so like, I manage it and make money for managing it for the company. Right. But they're your assets. So you work on Toro, right?
Yeah.
Like, where was the first? Did you see this in the beginning of the pandemic? Like, what got you on? That is a very niche thing to be into, dude.
It is. So
very niche thing.
Listen,
like,
man,
props to you, bro. That's crazy.
This is the importance of what you consume. Right? This is the importance of everything that you do in your day to day. I heard about the rental car space on a podcast. You feel me? Like, I heard about it. I'm like, yo, I've rented a car on Turo a couple times. I'm like, that kind of makes sense. Like, I'm looking at the numbers. They're breaking it down on the podcast. I'm like, okay, cool. That makes sense. Let me go ahead and look into it. I actually, I invested in myself. I booked a consultation with someone who was doing it, right? Someone who was in the field, had 20-something cars. I'm like, yo, how do you, pick their brain a little bit just to make sure I'm good to go before I dive into this new field? It was exactly what I thought it was. So I'm like, all right, cool. Let's go ahead and get into it. And with me, again, strategy, right? What I did, I formed partnerships to get into it. I'm like, all right, well, I don't have the capital just to buy one of these cars cash or anything like that. I don't want to, kind of dive all in. Well, I'm going to go ahead and form some partnerships with people. Let's go ahead and buy a car. Let's get it up and running. Let's see how it goes. And, we'll take it from there. And that's really how I just started out with that. And that just kind of, it worked. Started just trickling in. Then you bring in, credit. You bring in different strategies to now get cars for free and get them on the platform. And it kind of just builds into itself, man. But the opportunity came from a podcast. Literally listening to a podcast. I'm like, this makes sense. Let me go ahead and just dive into it, do my research. The rest is history.
Wow. Damn. How many cars do you...
I have 9 right now.
Damn.
Yeah, I've got 9.
And just from your Instagram, which is Wealthy G.
The Wealthy G.
At the Wealthy
Yeah,
G.
duh,
Sorry,
come
I'm
on,
sorry.
bro.
At the
It's only
Wealthy
one,
G.
dog.
At the Wealthy G. We're shouting it out. How, right, you talk about, and this is more of like me nerding out, look at it. It's important to diversify your income, but also diversifying those assets, specifically those vehicles. Mm-hmm. Where, of the 9 cars that you have, do you look at them as, hey, I want more economy cars versus, I know you have a Tesla versus a luxury car. Yeah. Where do you find the market space has the most opportunity for you?
Yeah, economy for sure. As far as scale, you have economy, right? Because it's just simple economics. There's way more economy cars on the road than there is luxury cars. Simple, right? So when you think about demand, right, you want to think about demand in these markets. What is there a demand for? There's actually, resources online where you can actually look at, like, what's the most common rental car? You know what I'm saying? What is the most common car that people are renting? You can go to places like Enterprise. What are some of the common vehicles that Enterprise has? People that have been doing this way longer than me.
Hundreds of years.
What are some of the common vehicles that they have? Okay. They have these economy cars. They're good on gas. They've got Bluetooth, backup cameras. The basics that somebody would need if they just need to get around, right? Those are the things that are going to go. And then I dived into the Tesla space. That's more niche-y, right? It's way more niche-y. It's an experience, right? People are getting that car for an experience. But as far as the opportunity goes, from my experience, the economy cars make more money than the Tesla. However, the Tesla comes with a lifestyle benefit. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about, what is your ultimate goal with this, right? Do you want to be able to drive nice vehicles in your off time? Is that important to you? You want to be able to flex a little bit,
Yeah, of course.
Or are you in it for the cash flow, right? For me, I was in it for the cash flow to begin, and I was like, I could probably get a Tesla, do the same thing, and just have it for a couple of days. That'd be pretty cool to do, and just have a Tesla. So at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and do it.
Yeah. Right.
I'm gonna go ahead and do it, and then also getting it for free. You know what I'm saying? When you start diving into understanding credit and everything like that, that Tesla, I literally got it for $100, and I haven't ever paid anything more for that Tesla. Right? When I'm able to drive that. The Tesla pays for itself plus a little bit of extra income on top of there. But those economy cars, Teslas are going to be rented out like the weekends and like Mondays, right? Like the other days are kind of open because nobody really needs it.
Right.
Economy cars, they're going all week. Those margins are way more larger. So if you're like diving into that industry, I definitely recommend, before you even go into the luxury, you might as well get a couple economy cars, because when we talk about building, right? Building, same thing we talk about with the ETFs. You can diversify with 4 economy cars instead of getting 1 luxury car.
Right.
You feel me? Diversification is key in like every single aspect. If I have 4 economy cars, if one gets in an accident, the other 3 are still going. If I have 1 luxury car, that thing gets in an accident, all right, the business is now down until it's
I'll tell you what,
back.
when that Tesla gets into an accident, bro, it's gonna be 3 months before you get that thing back.
Exactly.
I know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that insurance is key.
Yes.
that insurance is so key in the game. You got to have the right insurances on these platforms to make sure if your car does go down, that you are getting compensated for those days that the car is down. But yeah, man, economy cars, the margins on those things, it's nothing like it, man.
And these are like the Nissan Sentras, the Ford stuff.
Nissan
like
Sentras. I got Nissan Sentras, Nissan Versas. I got Ford Fiestas. Little Fiesta be putting in work, man.
Boy, I'll tell you what. I know that's
Listen,
right.
Yeah, you listen.
Yeah,
I know. Yeah, you know.
Oh, I know.
Shoot, even I know, because like
Yeah.
we talk about it, because I used to, because of him, before I got my actual car, I was renting from Enterprise, and I would just get Nissan Sentras,
all you
Fords.
need.
Sometimes I would get like the Volkswagen or whatever if I was feeling cool.
Yeah,
but I would
that's
see
all
some
you
of the
need.
prices on like the luxury. I'm like, I ain't there yet.
No, but what we talked about is, right,
Yeah.
exactly what you're saying. You're leveraging your business.
Exactly. Yeah.
It was never you.
Yeah.
It's BCTV Media.
Yeah.
This is an expense. This is part of the job.
Yep.
So we talk about, I'm like, bro.
You did that?
Yeah,
See,
well,
that's my.
Come on, bro.
Come on, man.
The
That's
people
it.
pay for that junk.
Yeah.
Whatever the rental price was, and I would probably jack it up a little bit, but they would pay that junk. So I'd be riding for free, plus getting whatever my shooting fee is. And it's a write off at the end of the day.
It's a write off,
That's how I travel.
and you protect it through
Come on,
Enterprise.
bro.
You're building it in.
He's like, you a proud dad right now.
I'm like, I'm like, yes.
He put me onto that because, it was literally a car ride. He was like, bro.
I was going to say, we were literally at Applebee's real quick because then I want to get into another part of this.
Yeah.
We were literally at Applebee's. This motherfucker been Ubering to me for 10 years. I'm like, what the fuck? What
I was
are you doing? Why are you Ubering? What is this?
Just because I didn't know.
My question was, is someone paying for this Uber?
Right. Is it free?
Did you go somewhere and someone paid for it? Yeah, they do. Okay. Well, tell me this. It costs X amount of dollars to work, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
If you rented for X amount of dollars, and then 75% of that was the rate, and the other 25% was just that's what it costs.
Mm-hmm.
You now have this car for leisure.
Right.
Yeah. This is just your car now.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he's got me, right? Relationships. Enterprise is awesome. Friends and family discounts, things like that. I can throw it at you. And of course, we build in, he doesn't have car insurance. It's protected. He has no exposure. Yeah. So you go through all these different avenues. And then at the end, though, we finally had the conversation where it's like, hold up, though. You rent so much. Where should you really put your money?
Yeah.
The money should really go into, you should own this asset.
Yeah.
Now, of course, we can get into it depreciates and all that stuff, but assuming that you're getting a good deal, which he did because we talked about it, like now this thing you own, which once again is a write-off, which once again is all these other things. Mm-hmm. And like you said, maybe we're nerding out for the people right now, but if you're not thinking about it like that, it was a game changer.
Yeah.
It's making him money.
Yeah. That's good stuff. That's great stuff. I listen. I love it. That's what I'm all about, man. All about.
Stop snitching. Something that Brandon is very right about this. I also have no idea what you're talking about with the business credit. So, like, what do you mean when you say that your credit buys you something? Or what's that philosophy?
So business credit is basically utilizing, the same way we have a personal credit score, credit profile. Your business, an LLC is legally a separate entity. So your business can actually have a credit profile and you can get lending on your business, right? You can, the same way we can get credit cards, same way we can, get loans and things like that. For us, cars, car notes in our own name, you can get that same thing in your business name, right? This has a few key benefits, right? We're just talking about real estate. When it comes to buying a house, your debt to income ratio is a crucial ratio to being able to get approved for a mortgage. If you have a bunch of debt on your report, your ratio is going to go down. You can't get approved for that mortgage. If you're able to strategically place that debt, that say, you want to get into the rental car space and you're like, I need to get a car. I'm just going to go to the dealership and get a personal car note and I'm going to put it on the platform. You don't think about, on the back end, next month, if I go to buy a house, I now have this $300 car payment that's also reporting to my credit now. So even though it's for my business, I have this debt on my debt to income ratio. However, if you take the extra steps of getting that vehicle, leveraging your personal credit, but to buy it in your business name, you can keep these loans, you can keep these debts off of your personal credit, keep your personal credit clean, and buy them in your business name. It makes it a lot easier for your taxes, right? For writing things off. It's actually owned by your business. You don't have to say, I'm lending my car to my business. Like, no, it's just my business's car, right? But the main thing for me is being able to, one, with business credit, you get access to bigger lines. So when it comes to getting lines of credit and credit cards, right, you might get $5,000 for a personal credit card. That same bank might give a business $50,000 on a credit card, right? It's just because business is bigger than a person. So being able to keep your personal report clean and also being able to get startup capital, right? If you're utilizing the way your personal credit report works, if you're utilizing your credit, that hurts your score, right? On business credit, it's not going to hurt your score to utilize the credit because it's expected. You're a business. It's expected that you have to use that credit to keep your business, running, whether it's for cash flow, whatever. So it doesn't hurt your business. Your business score is not affected. And again, it's separate. So while you might have $30,000 out in your business, but on your personal, you don't have anything. So you can still maneuver. It's really a great way to really separate your personal from your business on all aspects. And it allows you to really get ahead in life because you can really keep your personal credit clean and still do everything you need to do in the business name while not shooting yourself in the foot while doing it. It's a hack, man. It's a life hack.
I was going to say, wait, so I want to make sure I understand this. So you go to a Nissan dealership. You want to buy a car. you can buy the car under your LLC, like in your business's name, but they can like run your personal credit.
Yeah.
But you pay with your business credit card.
Yeah. So let me give
because
the
the business is owned by you. So they are one and the same, but you can choose what they utilize to like verify you.
All right, yeah. Let me tell you. Let me break it down. All right. So there's this thing called a personal guarantee, PG, right? What that is basically the owner of the business is personally guaranteeing that, hey, it's like a cosigner, very similar to a cosigner, but it's very important to know the difference because a cosigner, if you cosign with your business, this is game. All right, if you cosign with your business, it will report to your personal credit because that's you and your business going on the loan together, right? You get me with that, right? If somebody cosigns for a car note, like if my mom...
Bro, this is OD. This is real.
Yeah, this is...
I hope people understand this. This is fucking ridiculous.
Yeah,
this is legal.
Yeah, this is the game,
man.
Oh my God. Okay, go ahead. I'm listening.
All right, so if you co-sign, it's going to report to your personal credit as well as your business because you're now on the loan together. If you go in as a personal guarantor, what you're saying is, I'm buying this in my business's name. However, you can run my personal credit and you can put me on. I am liable should the business default, right? But I'm not going on with the business from the beginning. I'm just the person that's liable if the business defaults. That keeps it off your personal credit report.
But the business is you.
The business is me. Yes.
So you're still building your business credit.
Oh yeah, and it's a trade line.
Yeah.
And you get the loan because if you have, this is why it's so important to have good personal credit. If you have good personal credit, they run your score. They're like, oh, okay, great. You have a good score. You're credible. Yeah, we would lend to you personally. So yes, we will lend to your business with you as the personal guarantor. You just have to take the extra step to actually know that this even exists. If you don't know that this exists, you're not going to do it.
Yeah. And
it makes things a lot more complicated for you, right? When you learn these specific things and how to really do business, like, this is how you really operate a business, getting these assets in your business name, keeping yourself completely separate from it. Just if anything defaults, I got you, But
so you are quite literally betting on yourself.
Yeah.
Because what you're saying is, right, so let me talk about it this way. Worst case scenario. You turn into the worst businessman in the world. Everything crumbles. Your LLC falls apart. You are saying that if all that falls, it does default back to you and your personal credit,
exactly,
which can fuck up everything in your name. So assuming you're not the worst businessman in the world, you're just making sure that, hey, I'm running a credible business, I'm making enough money on this, so I am assuming the risk over here, but if B fails, it does fall back to me on A.
Yeah.
But I'm not like entangling other people, right? I feel like a lot of people, you get your mom or dad to co-sign on this car. So they're signing off saying, hey, if my son messes up, you can come for me.
You can come back for me. Yeah. And listen, it's
that is game.
Yeah.
That is super game.
I
never knew that. That is
car,
fascinating.
Yeah, bro. And listen, the best thing is, when you really think about it, if you go to the dealership directly, you're still responsible. You bought it in your own name, right? Like, why not take the extra step? Like, you're not actually assuming any more risk, because if you just go there and buy it in your personal name, like, you're still the responsible party. You can get this benefit of going the roundabout way, and it's not on your credit, right? And now your credit report is clean. Now that opens up other opportunities for you to do other things, but you're just still, again, you're responsible for it. This is your business. You have to be able to take that responsibility, your entity. It's definitely nothing to be played with, because it's not on my credit, so I can do whatever I want.
Right.
No.
It will be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is not something to be played with, but this is, when you're really serious about going into business, these are ways to strategically be able to actually grow your business, right? Like, I own 9 cars. I don't own, none of those cars are in my name. George Waters does not own any of those cars. They're all owned by my businesses. I own my own car personally. That's it.
Damn.
That's
when
it.
you, just so like for people who like are interested in like doing this, is that is it an option when you're talking to the salesman, like, hey, I want you to do it this way? Like, do you have to present it to them? Because I'm sure, hey, they're trying to make a bag too.
Yeah, you have
to up front say, hey, I'm buying this in my business's name. You can utilize this because the business is owned by me. I'll be the personal guarantor on this, and then they'll do it.
Listen,
I'm assuming they will not come up front and say, hey, is this what you want to do?
Yeah, no. They're not well versed in the financial realms of financing. They're car salespeople, right? So they're not the ones that's well versed in it. And that's actually, so I had a webinar on commercial financing specifically, and that's exactly what we went through. Is like, all right, when you go to the dealership, this is what you need to let them know. All right, this is how you're going to get to the commercial financing people that you need to speak with. This is, what you need to, your application, you need to make sure that you put the correct information on the application so that you are going to go through. You don't want to, put your income where you put the business. Like, you have to know you're filling it out for yourself and for the business. So you have to know how to fill it out. But no, you need to actually know these things, because going into the dealership, they're just trying to get a sale. You know what I'm saying? They don't know the co-applicant versus personal guarantor. That's such an easy step to mess up at the dealership, because if you sign one paper, it's going on your personal credit report, right? One paper. If it says co-applicant, it's going on your personal credit report. If you see co-applicant, say, I do not want this to go on my personal credit report. Why does this say co-applicant? I am not a co-applicant. I am a third-party personal guarantor. That's what you want to make sure is very clear to everyone.
Dang.
When I'm going through that process, I'm telling everybody, does this say Nah, I'm a third. They need to know, because one wrong paper, and it's going on your personal credit report. You have to know. Sheesh. You have to know the game. You have to, man.
Damn.
Man, I was gonna say, I think of like when I bought my car. People talk about that. It took 6 hours to buy a Toyota Corolla. Mm-hmm. I'm a normal person with good credit. I'm just trying to buy this car and get out of here, and it takes forever. So I can only imagine, like you're saying, it can take a very long time to process that type of transaction. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, so with me, I know the game. So I don't even...
I'm sure by now, yes. You've done this 9 times. You can do this a little bit faster.
I go to the dealership with my financing. All right? I think that's number one, what we can do from the personal or from the business side. When you go to the dealership, go there with your financing already in place, right? Go to a small regional bank, go to a credit union, something like that. Get your note approved first. Know what you can get. Have them do it. You're going to get a better rate. You go to the dealership, they're going to shop your credit around to 7 people. You're going to get 7 inquiries. It's going to cause your credit to go down, right? You go to a bank, that's 1 inquiry. They'll give you what you need. You're usually going to get a better rate as well. And now when you go into the dealership, you're not even worried about, financing this, financing that. I already have my check. I just need to find a car that's going to fit within the realms of this check, right? And that's how I work backwards when it comes to getting cars for free. When I go in there, I already know what my financing is. I already know what I'm approved for this vehicle. I'll give them the VIN. I'll give them the miles. They'll say, okay, we can lend X amount on this vehicle, right? So now when I go to the dealership, I'm not even worried about the sticker price. I want the out-the-door price, right? I need you to wrap this. I need it to be fully wrapped. I need Gap, right? What's the out the door price after? What's the out the door price after all of that? If I can negotiate with them to get that out the door price to within the realms of, like, banks might lend 110% of the value of a vehicle, for everything. If they can get that to within 110%, I already know how much the bank is giving me, so I just got that car for free, no money down. You feel me? You just got to work backwards. That's it.
I was going to say, so you're You're very articulate, but it's a lot. I'm taking this all in. Hold on. So you are super articulate. I give you a lot of props. This is really good. So, okay. So you go to a bank first. You find a lender first.
Yes.
Because then, so you're saying if I show up with that pre-approval, they don't have to run my credit?
Exactly.
Because it's coming from a verified institutional source.
Wait, that's already people don't do that normally.
Bro, I didn't do that.
What?
It's the.
I thought that was pretty commonplace. Yeah, getting your bank to approve a loan amount.
No, man.
We've talked about that a while ago. No, the common practice is you go to the dealership and they run your credit and they find a lender for you.
But however, those are hard inquiries, right?
They're all hard inquiries. You can get...
Oh, that'll body your credit.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That's what I did to buy my car.
Wow. That's what people normally do. That's what people normally do. I'm like, I'm just going to go check the car. They take care of everything.
But it's because that's not a... Who told you to do that? George? Your mom? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Miss Debbie. Miss Debbie's an OG, so we're gonna put that to a different perspective.
But I didn't know that wasn't. I thought that was pretty commonplace. Like,
no, man.
It's
really?
Not. Yeah.
Damn.
I think that, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but when I went to buy my car, it was more of the fact you're not trying to get swindled into these other protections and insurances, things that, are the protection packages, the warranties and things that, hey, that may work for some people, but if you're not I'm just trying to buy this Toyota Corolla. Right. I have my insurance. I'm good. And walk out the door. I think it depends on what you want, but no, I've never gone to a bank first, gotten a pre-approval to say that this is what I have. They cut you a check for that amount because you're saying, I will use this toward the value of this car. Now, are you saying that you have to already know the car that you want to buy? Because you come with the VIN? Like, what happens if the car switches up?
So, it varies per lender. I like to go in with a lender that I don't have to necessarily get a check for. Some lenders will just tell you, hey, let me run your credit and I'll tell you the maximum amount that we can give you for a car. And then it's going to still vary once you find out the car. Other lenders are, you can, just give them a call, say, hey, I found this car. Here's the VIN, here's the miles. Tell me exactly how much you'll lend on that. And then they'll give you like a little pre-approval letter. And something is still done on the back end to actually buy the car. So I like doing it that way because I personally like knowing the exact amount that I'm going to get for any car. So I'll look online. I might call my bank and say, hey, I'm looking at these 3 vehicles, right? I'm looking at 3 vehicles. Here's the VIN, here's the miles. How much will you lend on this one? Here's the VIN, here's the miles. How much will you lend on this one? That way, if I'm going to the dealership, I might have 3 vehicles in mind that I want to get, but I need to know which one is going to fit into the criteria of me walking out of here without putting any money down. You feel me? So that's why I need to know that out the door number from the bank for any vehicle that I'm going to grab, because my ultimate goal, again, from the business perspective, is to get this vehicle with little to no money out of pocket. That's why it's so important to kind of know the exact details before going into there.
Because you are quite literally paying with a check from the bank for the car, and then you're paying back the bank because you already understand it is X amount of dollars. I have this interest rate. It is X,
everything's
Y,
already
and Z.
set.
It's already set. It's not going to fluctuate.
And then that builds your credit because you're making those payments.
Right, and you're right. So, and you're also calling the bank from your business's name.
So it's all happening on my business credit. My business now has a trade line of years of paying these car notes. Right. So now once you start doing
that, reputation elevates.
And once you get to a certain point, you don't even need to do that personal guarantee anymore because your business has built up such a strong profile within itself. Now it's just a super strong entity. It all builds off of each other. It all builds off of each other,
bro. Because I was like, when I was getting my car, because like my mom's like an alien, so like she pays everything cash. Like she's extremely good with money. Like. Kind of like
you can be diligent with your money like that. That's one way to do it.
So that's what stopped me from getting a car this whole time. Was like I just wanted to get one outright. But then I was like, somebody was like, yo, you can literally go to the bank because you have like my credit score is like a 760, right? So it's like the bank's gonna pre-approve you for a certain amount.
Good.
You go there, get that, go to the dealership, and then like you said, get a car that's you can just pay and not have to come out of pocket. But you can still build your credit when you're making these payments on the loan, which is all I cared about. I was like, I don't want debt. Like I'm not trying to have any kind of debt. You know what I'm saying? Like I want no debt, and I want to continue to build this credit as high as it can go. So it's kind of like the best of both worlds. But like I said, I thought that was like commonplace. But I guess it's like,
bro.
Nah.
There's no shot. I mean, I think you know that my parents are also very good with money.
Yeah.
I have never heard of
very common.
Wow.
Well, I think it's like you said. It's not the impulse buy. You are considering this for probably a good amount of time, a month at least, before you're okay. I got this, I got that, I got the third. If you do not have anybody in your corner telling you to go do that, you just go there like you're trying to buy a toaster at Target, right? Like this is okay. Tell me what I need to do.
So like we got the lenders right over here. We got to just run your credit. It's a very easy process, but when you're it's just the next level of thinking when you're being, the more you know. That's really what it is. If you don't know, like I've gone to the dealership myself and they've ran my credit and I'm like, damn, I got 7 inquiries from this thing. I'm like, damn, like, what just happened? But once you know, like now that you know, you'll never do that again.
Oh yeah. Once we get off this podcast, I ask you 100 other questions that I know you don't want to answer on camera. So let me put it like that. Yeah. But the okay, so all that aside, which is incredibly interesting. Someone our age, right, mid-20s, you want to do something to help yourself. What is the in your opinion, a good investment opportunity? Would you go into the ETFs, retail, for not a, let's say not over $10,000, like you're saying, you got $5,000. Well, what do you say you put that in for someone our age?
For someone our age, first and foremost, you need to create an emergency fund. That's going to be first and foremost cash reserves, right? I say 3 to 6 months of your living expenses need to be in cash reserves. That's first and foremost financial planning 101, right? Make sure you have that in cash, not invested in anything, cash. From there, if you have $5,000, go into ETFs. Depending on what your goal is, if you want this to be long-term savings, you can put it in like a Roth IRA, or so you can get some tax benefits, have it after tax. But if it's just savings, you can just put it in a general brokerage account and invest it in some ETFs so it can get growth. Now, when it comes to me, let's talk about the progression after that, right? So now you have your money, it's invested, you have your cash reserves, you continue to live your life, right? You're working. You're saving X amount of dollars every single week, right? You're doing what you need to do. This is principles that you need to be living by. The next step is what we were kind of talking about earlier. When you have that money, when you get that amount that you can spend on a property, because the easiest way to build wealth in the beginning is by lowering your living expenses. It's the easiest way, right? So we have to think about if we're living in an apartment, let's say we're putting out, let's just say $1,200 every single month for an apartment, right? As you're saving that money, you can now, if you can afford to save while paying $1,200 in rent, imagine, you save for a year and a half. Now you have $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, right? Now you can look at, again, a multi-family property, bro. You have a decent credit score. You have to look at a multi-family property. It's the first step. You can go into a duplex. You can buy a 2-unit property. Let me give you an example of mine. I bought a duplex for $180,000, but I paid $7,000 for that. Like I had to put down on it. $7,000 I had to put down.
Is that already in a company's name, in an LLC?
Nope, personal.
In your personal
This is
name?
personal. This is wealth building principles. This is business aside. This is just what young people should be doing.
Okay, I just want everyone to know. So you're talking about in your name. This
personal
is
name.
mine, personal. I own it. Okay,
yes,
gotcha.
Personal name, right? What I did is I was paying $1,500 at our apartment, right? So we were saved up some money. Paid the $7,000, got a duplex, right? So now our housing payment every single month for a $180,000 house, the housing payment on that is about $1,500, right? Same as we were paying, but now we have 2 units, right? The other unit that we don't live in rents out for $1,300 every single month. $1,300, right? So now we live in one unit, other person is paying $13, our mortgage is $15. So now we pay we just went from paying $1,500 a month to $200 a month, right? After you do that, saving, building wealth becomes a whole lot easier because I was paying $1,500. Now I'm paying $200. I instantly have $1,300 to make moves with every single month, easily. You know what I'm saying? That is just when it comes to, I need to make more money. No, we need to pause and be like, how can I lower my living expenses, right? If I'm really serious about building wealth, how can I lower my living expenses now that it's going to help me launch into really being able to, go in, invest in things, invest in businesses, things like that. The easiest way is to house hack, right? The house hack is the easiest way to execute this. Like I've been able to do that. And the best part about the house hack, right? So we want to go into a bigger house very soon. But after we go into a bigger house, because we're saving so much money right now, we easily have enough money for the down payment for the next house. So we don't even have to think about selling this house because this house is saving us money. Like it's just giving us the down payment basically. Every month we just get money for the down payment, right? So now you use that money, you go into, your single family house as you're, growing, maturing, you get into a single family house. Okay, cool. Now you get a single family house. Let's say it's $180,000 again, but now it's a 3-bedroom, 1-bath single family. Now, don't forget you still own this duplex, right? Now you put another tenant in that duplex, paying that same $1,300.
Right. It pays for your other mortgage.
It pays for the other mortgage. Exactly.
And then you just keep leveling up.
Then you just keep going from there. It's an easy blueprint that just about anybody, if you don't even have the desire to be a landlord, anything like that, it's just an easy blueprint to kind of steamroll, like go faster. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not that hard to, somebody lives on the other side of the house, like,
I was going to say, especially if your tenant lives next to you, if something's wrong, like, cool.
Yeah.
Bet, I'm right here.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like a very intense process. It's a very easy way to kind of dip your toes into the water while still making ginormous leaps in your financial life. So, I would say starting with the 5,000, you need to know what the plan is to where you need to get to, because, $5K investing into, ETFs, stocks, things like that, that's going to get you started. But as you're saving, you have to have a strategy to actually get wealth, right? Like you have to actually be able to build your wealth. The easiest way to do that is by saying, okay, let's do our expenses. Let's look at where all the money is going out and how can we eliminate some of those things to actually be able to use the money that we eliminate to now build off of. So listen, man, that's the play. Like, I haven't met a person for a situation that like that wouldn't work. You know what I'm saying? Like it wouldn't work.
No, that's ultimate game. I think what you're saying, maybe that's so true, is like, well, one, it sounds like, to recap, if you are not putting X amount of dollars away, if you are not saving something, truly putting it away from you into some sort of whatever, even if it's just a savings account or if it's an investment, like something liquid, right? Like you're saying, like you have to be able to pull the trigger on this the next day, have this money, be able to roll. Just thinking in that sense.
And if you can't do that, where can you eliminate expenses to make it happen?
That was my follow-up. Like, then if you do not have the ability to save, look at what you're spending money on and how can you cross several of these things off, pack your frickin' lunch, walk to the bus, whatever it takes to eliminate all these things, because then you'll have that revenue or that capital, whatever, your money, to put into something else. And then you let that compound time over time over time. And then something like house hacking, or even even the car thing.
Yeah.
Think about that right now, bro.
Yeah.
Whatever. That's ridiculous. I can think about that in other sections, but
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's to me the ultimate, okay, I am serious about getting wealthy. I'm serious about building wealth. Okay, let me buckle down, let me do this math, because anybody can do it. One thing that's going to be guaranteed, people are always going to need a place to live. Yep. People are always going to need something to drive. Those are some guaranteed necessities that we as humans are going to need. So why not, in my life journey, we're obviously going to be consumers in these markets. Why not be a provider as well, right? Yeah. Why not be somebody that's providing these services for a profit at the same time? And it's only going to make your situation better.
Yeah.
My last thing is it wrong to think that, like, when you say a business, right, like anybody can start an LLC, right? You don't actually have to have a product that you are ready to sell. You can incorporate for whatever reason that you want to utilize that as a benefit toward something. So for anyone listening, you don't have to say, I sell baseball cards, so I need to, LLC, which is a limited
liability company,
right? You can just do that first and then figure it out from there. You don't already have to have a revenue incurring, BCTV media. You don't already have to have something like that to do that. You can just do it first, figure out how you want to use that to your benefit later. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And that's actually a great point when it comes to, if you know that this is something that you want to do, like, even if like, I don't know exactly what it is that I want to do, but I know I want to do something. And if you're like, this business credit sounds interesting and things like that, starting the business earlier is actually going to pay you dividends in the future, because when it comes to business credit, the age of your business is a factor. We know 99% of businesses fail. So if someone was to have an idea, but they might not have it all figured out right now, something that you might want to do is actually, okay, let me go ahead and, incorporate my LLC while I'm getting everything figured out. If you need to buy little materials to, like, notepad to start getting your ideas out, there are now business expenses, right? Even as small as they are, right? They're now business expenses, but you're also getting that age. So 2 years from now, when it's on and popping, my ideas are flowing, and I need that extra boost of revenue to really like bring my sales to another level. I'm going to have access to that business credit because I've already been in business for 2 years. Yeah. So that's actually a hack when it comes to this whole thing. Is if you start your business early, not necessarily start the operations, but start the entity, it's going to pay you on the back end.
Yeah. Shit, I would recommend that to like a lot of these people who are like reselling sneakers and stuff like that. Make it an LLC, bro.
Make it a business operation.
Because it's already a business. Just make it official. And
you remember when I was talking to you back in the day? I was like, bro, yeah, let's just incorporate this. Like you moving and shaking. We got to get you some write-offs. Like we got to, let's get it.
Shit, bro, best decision I ever made right there.
Yeah.
Real rap.
Yeah.
Break it down, B. We good, bro. Unless you got something else, this is
probably
opportunity for anybody.
This is like the most valuable podcast from a tangible perspective, from a money perspective. Like we've had motivation, community, but this is like when it comes to money, when it comes to wealth building, which is something that we all should want to do. Everybody should want to do. Like this has easily been the most valuable podcast. So we appreciate you, bro.
Hey, I appreciate y'all having me, man.
Thank you, man.
We know people pay for this, bro. You can't
for real. That's what I'm thinking the whole time. I'm like, you guys are getting free,
literally
good shit right now. Like. But hey, so go follow him. Yeah. Go ahead, plug all your stuff, bro. Go crazy.
I'm on Instagram, Twitter, The Wealthy G. Holla at me. We're here. We got the resources for you. So let's get this money.
Y'all want to just talk to him? Just set up a consultation, and that consultation can lead you to like wealth beyond measure, man.
Listen,
you know what I'm saying? Easy.
You have to invest. You have to invest in yourself. People have asked me before, why do I charge for information? And honestly, if you go on my Instagram page, you're going to see a lot of information that's just there, right? Now, when it comes to charging for information, it's very important. People do not value the information that they get for free, right? I have seen it time and time again. I will beat something into somebody's head, and if they don't want to receive that information, they're not going to receive that information, right? So I think same way I did in the beginning. I invested in myself to seek out the information. People know that I'm serious because I'm seeking out this information, right? Sometimes we have to make that investment in ourselves to actually take that next step forward. So definitely, however, come to the page. There's game there for you. Like there's a lot of game there for you already. And if you need to take it to the next level, we're here as a resource. Let's get it.
Boom. Ultimate promo right there, man. We appreciate you. I don't know what episode this is, but it's another one.
Yeah, another one. Yeah. Thank you for watching, listening, subscribing. As always, stop snitching.